If you are struggling with debt right now, you are definitely not alone. Canadians are carrying record levels of household debt, and for many families, it's starting to feel like there's no way out. According to recent reports, the average Canadian owes over $21,000 in non-mortgage debt, and nearly half of Canadians say they are living paycheck to paycheck. So if you're feeling squeezed by credit cards, personal loans, or lines of credit, this episode is for you. We are going to break down the 3 most common strategies that Canadians can use to pay off their debt. The snowball or avalanche method, consumer proposal or bankruptcy, and finally, refinancing your mortgage to consolidate debt at a lower rate. And near the end, I'll walk you through a real life example of how a refinance can help using a client scenario from a spreadsheet that shows the before and after numbers.
This is the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast.
So let's start with the most common approach, what you'll often hear referred to as the snowball or avalanche method. These are tried and true strategies for people who have manageable debt balances and consistent income. The snowball method focuses on paying off your smallest balance first. You make minimum payments on everything else and throw every extra dollar that you can towards that one small debt. Once it's gone, you move to the next. And the idea is psychological. You build momentum by getting quick wins. The avalanche method, on the other hand, it focuses purely on math. You're going to pay off the highest interest debt first, regardless of the size. Over time, this saves more money on interest, but it can feel slower because the biggest balances really take longer to eliminate. Both methods work, but they do require discipline, consistency, and patience. If you're feeling overwhelmed or you've got several debts all near their limit, these methods can take years. Next, we have consumer proposals and bankruptcies. These are the hard reset options, and they can absolutely eliminate or reduce a large portion of your debt. And for someone in a truly unmanageable situation, they can be life-changing, but they also come with very serious long-term consequences. Once you file, your credit will take a major hit and can stay affected for up to 7 years, and that can make it very difficult to qualify for a mortgage, car loan, or even a rental. It can also affect your ability to hold certain professional licenses or business relationships. So these options are not to be taken lightly. They should be a last resort and ideally done with a trusted financial advisor or insolvency trustee who can explain the ripple effect. Now let's talk about the third option, and the one that I see making the biggest difference for homeowners: a mortgage refinance to consolidate debt. This is where you use the equity that you've built up in your home to pay off high interest debt at a much lower rate. And here's a quick example. Let's say your home is worth $500,000 and your current mortgage is $350,000. Most lenders in Canada allow you to refinance up to 80% of your home's value. That's up to $400,000 in this case. So by refinancing, you could access roughly $50,000 in equity and use that money to pay off credit cards, car loans, or personal lines of credit that might be charging you 19% or more. Now your total mortgage is $400,000, but all of those high interest debts are gone. Because your mortgage rate is likely around 4 to 5%, your monthly costs of carrying that debt is drastically lower, and sometimes by hundreds or even thousands of dollars a month. And for a lot of Canadians, that cash flow relief is what helps them finally get back on their feet. Let's now walk through that real life example to show you what refinancing to pay off debt actually looks like.
Real estate investing does not have to be a full-time job. Randall, Hoeber, and Boys Group Realty provide complete property management services in Yorkton and surrounding areas, allowing investors to enjoy passive income without the headaches of day-to-day management. From finding tenants to handling maintenance and rent collection, Whether you own a property or are just getting started in the market, Randall Hoeber and Boys Group Realty makes it simple. Call Randall Hoeber at 306-782-1323 or email info@ralixenterprises.com to take the next step towards hands-free real estate investing. Your property, our expertise. Whether it's your home, business, or farm, Pioneer Solar and Renewables has you covered. As leaders in residential, commercial, and agriculture solar solutions, they make clean energy easy and affordable. Visit pioneersolarenergy.com or give them a call to begin harnessing the power of the sun today. Are you investing in real estate? Let Krishna with Boys Group Realty take care of everything. Finding properties, purchasing, renovations, leasing, and management, leaving you to focus on building wealth. Whether it's a single rental or an entire portfolio, serving Saskatchewan and surrounding areas, helping maximize cash flows and minimize stress. If you're looking for an expert to manage your investments, reach out today, home@meetkrishna.ca.
So I recently worked with a client who was coming up to renewal on their mortgage and wondering if there was any flexibility, any way to make life a little bit easier with all of the debt that they were carrying. Here's their situation. Their home was worth about $500,000 and they had a $282,000 mortgage with 20 years left on the amortization. Their lender was offering a renewal rate of 3.99%, which gave them a monthly payment of around $1,700. Now, that might sound manageable, but they also had a pile of consumer debt, $10,000 on a MasterCard, $25,000 on a line of credit, $9,000 on a Visa, and $25,000 on a car loan, a total of $69,000 in additional debt. And when you add it all up, those debts were costing about $2,070 per month if we factor in a 3% repayment. So just barely making a dent in the balances because most of it's going to interest. So we looked at a refinance option instead. We extended the amortization from 20 years to 30 years and refinanced the total mortgage amount to $352,832. That number includes a few things: paying off all consumer debt, covering estimated legal and appraisal fees, and because it was a renewal, there was no mortgage penalty to factor in. If you're listening to this scenario and you're thinking, hey, this sounds a lot like me, but you're in the midterm of a mortgage, all we would have to do is factor in the cost to break your mortgage to run a calculation like this. The new mortgage rate came in at 4.14%, slightly higher than the renewal rate, but here's the key. The new total monthly payment was $1,705, almost identical to what they were already paying on the mortgage alone. But now the big difference is that all of those debts are gone. Instead of paying over $3,700 per month between their mortgage and all their bills, they were now paying just the $1,705 total. That's a monthly cash flow improvement of about $2,000. Money that can be redirected to savings, emergencies, or even prepaying the mortgage to keep them closer to that original 20-year timeline. You know, the best part, they didn't have to drain their savings or sell anything. By using the equity that they'd already built in their home, they took control of their finances again, freeing up cash flow, reducing stress, and setting themselves up to rebuild from a stronger position. So yes, extending the amortization does mean that they are going to pay a bit more interest over time, but for many families, that trade-off is absolutely worth it for the breathing room it provides today. Before we end off, let's talk about the reality of refinancing to pay off debt and the pros and cons. Pro number one, you get lower interest rates. Mortgages are some of the cheapest borrowing available. Shifting debt from 20% to 5% is just mathematical sense. Number two, it's simplicity. Instead of juggling 5 or 6 different payments, you now have one, and it's easier to budget, easier to track, and often easier to breathe. Number three, immediate relief. If you've been living month to month, refinancing can free up money instantly. That breathing room can help you regain financial control. But there are also some very important cautions. You are extending your repayment period. Yes, the rate is lower, but the debt is now stretched over a longer timeline if you only make minimum payments. You could end up paying more total interest long term. Con number 2, it takes discipline. Once those cards are paid off, they need to stay that way. If you start racking up new balances, you're going to be worse off than before because you're now going to have these credit card balances, but maybe not the fallback of the equity in the property to do this again. Con number 3, your home becomes the collateral. This isn't meant to scare you, but it is a responsibility. Those debts are now tied to your property, so it's crucial to have a solid plan to stay on track, because if you miss mortgage payments, and if you do that over a long period of time, you risk foreclosure of the home. At the end of the day, debt relief isn't about a magic solution. It is about understanding your options and using the one that fits your situation best. For some, that might mean tackling debts one at a time. For others, it's finding structured relief through refinancing and improving cash flow. And if you're listening and thinking, I don't even know where to start with this, that is totally okay. A good mortgage broker or financial advisor can help you run the numbers and see what's possible and avoid those pitfalls that can come with debt consolidation. If you would like to take a look at your own numbers or find out what refinancing might look like for you, you can feel free to book a call with me using the link in the description of this podcast or video if you're checking it out on YouTube. Thanks for looking at this episode of the Saskatchewan Real Estate Podcast. If you did find value here, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button for more real estate content made just for you. Until next week, I'm Ron Quaroni, your Saskatchewan mortgage professional. Bye for now.